They say true wealth isn't measured in gold, but in land, its history, its silence, its enduring promise. For Arthur, his expanse of property wasn't just acres. It was a living legacy, a sanctuary passed down through generations, a place where time moved differently, and the loud sound was often the whisper of the wind through ancient trees. He was a man of quiet wisdom, a careful observer, content in his solitude. But beyond the serenity of his domain, the relentless churn of ambition was always at work. Developers, with dollar signs in their eyes, viewed untouched wilderness not as a treasure, but as untapped potential. And soon, the quiet rhythms of Arthur's life were about to collide with a monumental act of greed and staggering arrogance. The first encroachment is often a subtle test, a probing gesture. For Arthur, it came in the form of official-looking strangers with their tripods and their maps, dissecting the edge of his beloved property. They spoke of new developments, of minor adjustments, their words laced with a practiced indifference. Arthur, a man who knew every inch of his land, sensed a deeper untruth. He had legal descriptions, old maps, a clear understanding of his boundaries. Yet, the developers, powered by the sheer force of money and ambition, seemed to operate under a different set of rules, or perhaps no rules at all. He held his peace, but his quiet concern began to crystallize into suspicion. He understood that knowledge was power, and in this looming battle, knowing precisely what was happening and waiting for the opportune moment would be his greatest weapon. The seeds of their audacious project were being sown, and Arthur, with a profound sense of foreboding, was quietly planting the seeds of his counter-move. The invasion was swift, ruthless, and deafening. Where ancient trees had stood, a forest of identical houses now began to sprout, a concrete jungle devouring the natural landscape. The developers, riding a wave of unbridled ambition and perhaps a convenient blindness, pushed forward with astonishing speed. Their construction wasn't just near Arthur's property. It was undeniably, irrevocably, on it. The noise, the dust, the sheer scale of the project was designed to overwhelm, to make any objection seem futile. But Arthur, a man whose roots ran deeper than any foundation they could pour, wasn't overwhelmed. He was observing. He was documenting. He was collecting every piece of evidence, every violation, every nail driven into his rightful claim. He wasn't stopping them. He was letting them build their entire empire, brick by unsuspecting brick, on borrowed ground. His silence wasn't a sign of defeat. It was the calm before the storm, the meticulous preparation of a master strategist. The sheer scale of the development indicated a brazen confidence, a belief in unassailable power. But power, Arthur knew, often crumbles when confronted with inconvenient truths. While they built their houses, Arthur built his case, brick by unassailable legal brick. He delved deep into the labyrinthine world of historical county records, tracing his lineage of ownership back through time, unearthing every forgotten survey marker, every overlooked amendment. He understood that their arrogance lay in their assumption of undisputed ownership. His trap wasn't physical, it was purely legal, a paper prison that would lock them in their own monumental mistake. He wasn't just finding a deed, he was forging an ironclad argument, waiting for the precise moment when the cost of their mistake would be not just high, but catastrophic. He was giving them enough rope, not to hang themselves, but to build their own gallows, 50 houses high. The stage was set for their triumph. The grand opening of the preserve was a testament to corporate ambition, a celebration of their audacity. Barbara, the architect of this concrete empire, reveled in the spotlight, her words dripping with self-congratulation. She believed she had not only built a community, but had also successfully steamrolled any lingering opposition, relegating Arthur to the role of a quaint, irrelevant relic. She saw his presence a mere curiosity, a testament to her own perceived victory. But Arthur, the quiet observer, was not there to celebrate. He was there to watch them crown their monumental error, to witness the final, irreversible act of their trespass. His silence was not acceptance. It was the coiled spring of patience, waiting for the precise moment to unleash the truth. The ceremony was not just a grand opening. It was the prelude to an even grander fall. The courtroom, a theater of truth, was about to witness a drama of epic proportions. Barbara's legal team, confident in their bas-temps paid for surveys, dismissed Arthur as a minor annoyance, an old man clinging to sentimental claims. They had built their case on lies and assumptions. But Arthur, with the quiet dignity of a man who owned not just land, but truth, unveiled his masterpiece. The judge's skepticism dissolved into stark realization as Arthur's lawyer meticulously laid out a paper trail centuries old, an undeniable testament to legal ownership. The original deed, the historical surveys, every single document screamed one irrefutable truth. The entire development, 50 houses strong, stood on Arthur's property. Barbara's smug certainty fractured into pure, unadulterated panic. Her empire wasn't just built on sand. It was built on stolen ground. The silent waiting was over. The trap had sprung, not with a crash, but with the undeniable power of a century-old document, delivering a judgment far more devastating than any physical force. The quiet reveal in the courtroom exploded into a public spectacle. The news, hungry for stories of comeuppance and corporate greed, descended upon the HOA like a swarm. Barbara's carefully constructed empire, built on arrogance and a disregard for rightful ownership, was now crumbling in full view of the world. The legal fallout was immense. Billions in potential lawsuits from furious homeowners, demands from investors, and criminal investigations looming for fraud and trespass. Barbara, once the picture of polished confidence, was now a portrait of utter desperation, watching her life's work and reputation dissolve into chaos. Arthur's silent patience had not only won him justice, but had exposed a colossal scandal that would reverberate through the entire industry. Desperation breeds outlandish offers. The HOA, now facing financial ruin and public condemnation, came begging, armed with checks of astronomical value, hoping to buy their way out of the disaster they had so arrogantly created. But Arthur, man of profound principle, knew the true value of his land, a value that far surpassed any monetary sum. He listened to their desperate pleas, their hollow apologies, and their impossible promises. Then, with the quiet power of a man who genuinely holds all the cards, he declined. He wasn't interested in a quick payout. He was interested in justice, in reclaiming his legacy, and in sending an undeniable message. Their pleas for a settlement fell on deaf ears. Arthur's resolve was unwavering. He had given them the rope to hang themselves, and he would not cut them down. His land was not for sale, especially not to those who had stolen it. Justice, when truly served, is often a slow, meticulous process of restoration. The houses, once symbols of arrogance and greed, now stood as monuments to a colossal error. Under court order, the HOA was compelled not just to pay Arthur, but to undo their trespass. Demolition teams rolled in, reversing the development, tearing down the very structures that had so brazenly invaded Arthur's sanctuary. It was a painstaking, costly process, a testament to the devastating consequences of building on stolen ground. Arthur watched, not with glee, but with a profound sense of reclamation. His land, once defiled, was slowly, painstakingly, being returned to its rightful state. The quiet man had not just won, he had restored the natural order. The dust eventually settled. The sound of demolition faded, replaced by the quiet hum of nature. Arthur had won not just a legal battle, but a generational victory, ensuring his legacy and the sanctity of his land. The story became a cautionary tale, a legend whispered among developers and homeowners alike. Never assume ownership. Always respect boundaries, and never, ever underestimate the quiet patience of a man who knows the true value of his land. Arthur had waited silently, allowing them to build their entire folly, and when the time was right, he revealed the simple, undeniable truth: a deed, a document that brought an empire crashing down. Because sometimes, the most powerful trap isn't built with steel and concrete, but with patience, wisdom, and an ironclad piece of paper.